Did somebody say bet like Fred Flintstone? Bet. All right, we got some bets here for you. I just pulled the trigger on over 156.5, UCLA and Washington. I thought this game would be a track meet. And, dude, so I just got over 156.5. You can't make this up. They actually just moved it to 160.5. Like, there's been another basket, like, right away. But what I always identify, guys, there's 10 minutes and 54 seconds left in the first half. They're already at 46 points right now. And both teams have 5 fouls. We're going to be shooting free throws, like, for the rest of the half, essentially, here.
Nice.
Which, yeah, it's a big advantage for over bettors. Plus, Washington don't play defense. Anybody that's watched Washington. They are good offensively, though. So, speaking of which, St. Mary's are 15.5-point favorite, Sean, over Pepperdine. St. Mary's have been murdering teams this year in conference play. But I think they can murder them enough that this game goes over the number, actually. Like, St. Mary's totals are a little light this year. They score a lot more than they used to. And you can score them a little bit. So I bet the over 137.5 in that game. But I didn't lay any side in that game. So what's your late-night college basketball opinions?
I would actually this one maybe a team total. They got Gonzaga on deck. So maybe they're going to be half-hearted here. You know? I mean, it's Pepperdine. I'll go team total. I don't have it right in front of me. I don't, because I'm not laying 15 on the road. I'm not laying 15 on the road.
It's Pepperdine.
They're going to be half-hearted. It's Pepperdine. That's it. Put that on a billboard.
Listen, for 15, I'm not. You got to. They know who's on deck.
Pepperdine's one of the nicest campuses I've ever seen in my
life.
Like
Malibu. Yeah, man.
We talked about this, right? The Western Dolphins. This is Nick Nolte, Coach P.D. Bell's squad here. You know, and if it had. If it had Matt Nover, Penny Hardaway, and Shaq, I'd say Pepperdine, but not here.
Yeah. I was there in the 80s, and I actually wondered that. Like, I pulled in, and I said to the dude I was with, I looked over, I said, how are they not, like, number one at everything in the country with this campus? Like I said, how would anybody come here and say, I'm not staying here? And then he told me, he goes, wow, it's a really good school. It's expensive. It's hard to get into. And shout out to everyone joining us on Sirius. And like a lot of those schools, they are big time. They're very good at baseball. Pepperdine baseball is very, very good. And Pepperdine, like volleyball and stuff like that. Like they're good at the summer type sports.
Too, Morency. Like I was talking to Pharrell when his kid went to San Diego State and stuff. I think they kind of, like open.
Oh, it's a real school.
Yeah, it's a school. That's what I'm saying. There's no like, hey.
Yeah, no, the dean is strict. Yeah. They know you're not smoking weed on the campus walking around.
He's
it's not like a chill.
Stacey. Hey guys, you want a party?
It's not Cal Berkeley camp. There ain't no like sit-ins and like bongo Sundays. Doom.
You guys want to smoke one with the dean? Yeah,
Pepperdine's like, no, it's all rich kids. It's like rich sort of. You know what I mean? Polo blonde kids and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's rich Californians.
Like, even his dad said,
it's golfers are in. Big golf program.
He goes, my kid had a skill. We went to Pepperdine because the education was, like, the best. Like, that's the thing. You got a kid with talent.
Dude, it's Malibu. It's rich. Like, they're stuck up. They're not, like, nice rich. They're stuck up rich.
Mean rich. Mean.
Nice campus, though.
Excellent campus, though. Yeah, true.
Nice. Should we do Malibu? Who's that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's
no entourage here.
I don't know where you're going. Yeah, I don't know.
He's a wild
man. It's a little entourage. See if anybody watches a little entourage. You get that.
Courtney Love had a song. The band Hole had the song Malibu.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And of course, there's
Malibu
Stacy from The Simpsons.
I like more doll parts than Malibu for my whole collection.
32-27 Washington right now. All right, so.
Sorry.
Yeah, right, Sean?
Yeah, this guy's he's taking it off.
We got like two minutes left. So, Sean, you're in Texas right now, and Mattress Mac has laid it down. Just yesterday, he bet $1 million on the Houston Cougars to win the national championship. He got him at plus 750. And he actually had a good point, in which he said the odds are only going to go down. And it's true. I said it the other day. I'm like, man, I'm surprised they're plus 900 when, to me, there's only three good teams: Purdue, Houston, and UConn. And then there's everybody else after. And I think Houston are better than Purdue. So I don't know. You got Houston and UConn almost. So I don't think it's a bad bet that he made. So he gets the $1 million to get $8.5 million back, and he's also doing the mattress promotion. But what do you think? Are you buying into the Houston Cougars, Sean? They're going to cut down the nets.
Like you said, UConn, them. I'm not that high on Purdue because Purdue, when they get buckled down against a good team, I'm worried about them. Like, will they choke because they choked before? The pressure will get to them. So that's not a team I want to.
And they're so built on Zach Edey, too. You slow him down, you double team him, you get him in foul trouble, whatever.
I don't know what kind of metal they have when going gets tough there. And the thing with Houston is the last couple of years are always building, getting better. Something always goes wrong. Somebody gets hurt, they lose a guy. It's like, what the heck happens?
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills of college basketball. They really are. It's true, Ken. Like the Cougars have been building.
I'm sorry, Gabe.
When we were in Vegas, when Michigan beat them on the buzzer beater. It's been like 8-10 years that Houston have climbed the ladder, and now they're at like Final Four ladder. Now they're right there, but they can't get past.
They always find a game where they don't score enough. I remember when they played Rutgers. I'm like, these guys are gagging. Like they're a hard team.
And Cam, they always have bad luck. Their star player always gets hurt before the tournament.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like someone always gets hurt all the time.
Terrible. You know what? If Houston wins at plus 750, God help them. Like they're a wicked team with wicked defense. But the problem with the tournament game, you know the drill. We've done this. We bet on it every time. Yep. You got to score enough points one game when another team hits their threes. And can Houston do that?
They can score enough, I think. I think they can score enough.
Listen, they can play a 55-50 game, or all of a sudden they're scoring 86 to 80. They're in some kind of.
I don't think they would beat UConn, though, in a head-to-head matchup.
No.
They need UConn to get out of the way.
UConn just looks really good. I know they had the loss at Creighton. That's whatever. Team's going to lose. You're going to lose on the road. Teams lose on. I mean, go look at all the top teams in every conference. Look at the road record.
Right.
All the losses are on the road. You're going to get picked off. It's hard to go undefeated. That's why it doesn't happen that often. But yeah,
it is
UConn
true, though, guys.
Top.
I was just going to say it is true. Like Houston were 9-1. We missed out. That was a couple of days ago. Like plus that they're not.
I got UConn.
Dude, they're going
months ago, Gabe. When I told you, like I'm on UConn. Like UConn? That's my team. Yeah, like 12 or 13. I got them. Like I told you, I like that team months ago. Like I'm a UConn guy. Like I believe in this team. I don't think they'll choke. I know they're going to have some losses, but they're when you look at that team up and down, they can beat you scoring high. They can play some defense. They're well rounded, solid, well coached.
No, they're the team to beat.
Yeah,
no, they're a great, well rounded team. I agree. I think there's UConn, Houston, and I think here's another Texas team, Sean and Cam. But for you, Sean, is Baylor. Baylor they're not that far off from Houston and everybody else. They're like they could beat anybody, Baylor. Right, and you're getting 40-1 for Baylor to win the title. That's great hedge territory.
Yeah. And not only that, but people might be down on Kansas. Someone from the Big 12 is going to be in the Final Four.
I don't trust
That's
them.
for sure.
Kansas. I'm down on them.
But when it comes to tournament time, though, coaching comes into play, man. That guy can coach.
I know. I'm a mark for the Rock Chalk Jayhawk, but not this year. Brett Beard, next.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and my day's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage late
This sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. We're kicking it on Sirius XM Channel 159 on the SportsGrid Radio and Television Network. Shouts all of our AM radio affiliates, including the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio. SoCal in the house, and so is a Heisman Trophy voter, First Coast News, college football analyst, podcast host, the one and only Brett Beard steps up and in to join us. Brett, it's always a pleasure, man. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us.
I am delighted to be with you as I am on a weekly basis. And Gabe, usually this time of year, we're looking for something to talk about, my friend. That is not the case right now, is it?
No, this has been the most active offseason ever.
Yeah.
You know, we've got pending lawsuits, the future of the way that college football operates is being litigated in the courts right now. And more importantly, to football fans, the college football playoff is being discussed. So as you and I said, you know, it won't take long for them to turn this thing into a debacle. And here we go already. So they settled on, well, you know what? We'll have 12 teams in the playoffs. Now there's the talk of the 14 teams in 2026 with a new television contract. But the new model that's being discussed over the last 48 hours, the new model is a 14-team college football playoff that would be a 3-3-2-2-1 format. So what does that mean? It would mean 3 automatic bids to the Big Ten, 3 automatic bids to the SEC, 2 bids to the ACC, 2 bids to the Big 12, 1 to the highest-ranked Group of 5 team. The 3 remaining at-large berths would be divided up amongst the next highest-ranked teams. What are your thoughts on this proposal? Not so much your personal thoughts first, Brent, but do you think this proposal is going to pass?
Well, we know what's going to happen in 24 this year and 25 next year. Right? We've got the 5-7, and that really is as much as we know. What is up for grabs is after 25 and what happens in 26. Now, it got everyone's attention that they're thinking about going to 14. That game, I've seen and heard that they may actually end up with 16 at some point. that may be coming down the pike. Tony Pettini, the Big Ten commissioner, likes to have more teams involved. And the other thing that you're seeing here is this is going to be dependent upon the SEC and the Big Ten. And listen, this 3-3 model, don't be surprised coming up and starting in 2026 if it's not a 4-4 model where they both get 4 teams in there apiece. They want a certain amount of guaranteed teams in. Dave, here's their thought. We put the most teams in the playoffs, meaning the Big Ten and the SEC. Well, if that happens, we deserve the higher representation and we deserve the most money. So behind the scenes, there are so many things going on here.
Can you imagine, though, Brent? Can you imagine a college basketball conference trying to say the same thing about the NCAA tournament?
Yeah.
Saying, listen, we should automatically, we just say, just straight out, we automatically get 8 bids, right? Just for the record, no matter what. So our top 8 teams are in, right? It's, Brent, it's not a college football playoff. This is basically like the Big Ten SEC Invitational. Put it this way. It seems like whatever expansion exists, the Big Ten and the SEC are in agreement that they should represent basically 50% of the field. Like if there are 16 teams, they think we should have 8 of them in automatically.
Right.
Which that's not, and I'm a Big Ten guy, and we all, we get the drill here, but this isn't what the playoff is supposed to be about, Brent. And what is supposed, this is the shadiest thing ever. This is shadier than when the media used to just vote. So and let me just throw this out there, so every year we're going to have the same damn playoff, part of my language, Brent. So, we know. So it'll be Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State every year for the Big Ten.
Right.
It'll be the same teams, Clemson, FSU, Alabama, Georgia, LSU. We're going to have the same teams in the playoffs every year if we do this.
Yeah, well, I agree. And we're going to have a non.
And sorry. And what do the regular season games matter now as much? It'll be it'll be cool if we beat Ohio State, but if we don't worry. We're finishing second place and we're in anyways. We're killing college football, Brent. I'm telling you, man.
Well, and see, what's also going on is the Big Ten and the SEC had this power because the NCAA has very little of any power. So what they have still talked about, kind of more behind closed doors, is I'm not saying it's a threat. I'm just saying that it's out there that eventually the Big Ten and the SEC, could they possibly, Gabe, somehow either pull away or form more of a kind of, you got tier 1, which is SEC and Big Ten. You got tier 2, which would be the ACC in the Big 12, and they would adjust the money either because of the tiers or because the SEC and the Big Ten are able to pull away and not only kind of morph into their own league, but possibly have their own playoffs just between the two of them.
I think they should.
Yeah.
The Boise State president brought this up a couple of years ago. He told everyone else, he goes, we're never going to be included in any of this stuff ever, guys. We should just create our own. Very, very similar to the NIT tournament. But and/or do they participate in the actual NCAA football playoffs, which there actually exist, which is actually a legit playoff, unlike this manufactured, created one right now. But it seems to me, Brent, the best way of putting it is, when they sit down, when the playoff football committee sits down, they're not trying to improve the playoffs. They're trying to improve the Big Ten and the SEC's profitability margins, right?
Yes.
They don't have to bet. There's not put it this way, it's not like they sat down and said, what's the best college football playoff we could come up with? No, it's pretty clear that the Big Ten and the SEC are well, this is what we've decided. which is not it's not a playoff, Brett.
Yeah, well, whoever has the most gold rules the roost.
Yeah, that's the world, huh?
Yeah, and that unfortunately is what we're seeing here. Now, look, there are a lot of other issues here that we don't have time to get into deep today, but I do want to mention this because it's going to have to be dealt with. If we're going down this road, what we're looking at is what are we going to do with scholarships? Are players going to be employees? Or are we going to have contracts with these players? Can these players be fired basically at any time? And those are just a few of the things we're dealing with. When are we going to have signing day? And that's being debated too. There's now there's an offer for 3 different signing days. And I want to mention this at some point today. And I don't know what route they're going to take with that. But the point I'm making here is, besides who gets the money and besides who goes to the playoffs, Gabe, we have an unbelievable amount of issues.
It's chaos.
This is a part of the SEC and the Big Ten situation. I think their thought process is, we've given the NCAA time. We're not going to wait on Congress. At some point, do we need to police ourselves?
I think they're thinking, they're just thinking it's not our problem. That's your problem. All those problems are not our problems, and they're going to create a breakaway power on their own, which we've all seen coming. More with Brett Beard on the other side.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and my day's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Thursday Night Throwdown continues. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. Let's do this thing. Of course, the Indianapolis Combine continues. And a player that Mr. Brent Beard, our guest joining us right now, has watched a lot of is Brock Bowers. A fascinating player, Brent, a devastating football player who will not participate in drills over the weekend at the Combine, but he has met with over 15 teams already. And, you know, I see this player, Brent, and I see he's kind of dropping in the NFL draft, like as far as the mock drafts and where he's going to land. It's basically, yeah, he's a great talent, but there's a health concern. And secondly, you can't take a tight end that high in the draft. I look at this guy and I just think, you know what? I don't know if there's a better, as good as Marvin Harrison Jr. is, I don't know if anybody can help your quarterback out as much as Brock Bowers can.
Right. Yes.
Right. So what's your take on Brock Bowers and how healthy is he? Like, should people be concerned about some sort of health issue with him?
No. This is one of the toughest guys that I've seen play football. I'll be honest with you, Gabe. He is one of the best football players. I don't mean tight end. He is one of the best football players that I've ever seen in the SEC. And, man, that's saying a mouthful when you're able to say that. Gabe, I talked to a Georgia beat writer, and I asked, this was a week, you and I talked about this, when Georgia was having a lot of running back injuries. And I said, look, what is Georgia going to do if they don't have enough running backs? His answer was, well, they'll probably just put Brock Bowers back there at running back and just let him do his thing. And the reality of that is, frankly, the guy really wasn't kidding. I mean, this is a guy who is extremely versatile. I think he's very tough. Gabe, if he had to, I'm convinced he could play quarterback for 2 or 3 plays if he was in an emergency situation. Look, whatever you can spend to get a guy like this, I think he'll play for whoever for 10 years. And I think he'll be effective the whole time.
Strong words and praise from Brett Beard, who's seen a lot of great football players in the SEC over the years. Listen, he's so good in so many different facets, but one thing that really stands out is the yards after the catch and the determination of the yards after the catch. Like he's not afraid to put his head down and run people over. And in fact, I've saw a couple of times. I was just watching a highlight reel recently, just last night. There were a couple of plays where he got smoked, like absolutely smoked, and just popped right back up after it, right? Like,
absolutely.
Like he's one of those players that, like, defensive coordinators, when they say, like, lose sleep over, like, they lose sleep over. Like, people are scared of Brock Bowers. And I got to tell you, if he falls to the Cincinnati Bengals, that's going to be a lethal combo with him and Joe Burrow.
Well, and listen, here's the thing that he does. Another thing that he does so well. When Georgia was playing, it seemed like he was wide open on every play, or had a cushion of about 5 to 10 yards sometimes. Here's the reality of this. He is such a precise route runner that he makes some of these cornerbacks and safeties almost look silly. Now, look, he's not going to be able to do that immediately in the NFL, but I'm just telling you, he is that good in the open field if you get him the ball. And just like you said, if he falls to the right team, he will be an incredible addition to any wide receiver staff.
Now, he is favored. These are the odds for people tuning in, wondering about the odds. If you think you have a feel where he's going to end up. The Chargers, of course, have the 5th pick. That's where he's expected to land at plus 210. I put a play in that he ends up on the Arizona Cardinals at 100-1, guys. And the only reason I did that is in case there were some crazy trades. Harrison ends up getting, selected second or third because one of the teams trade, the Bears, the Patriots, something crazy happens. But as far as Brock Bowers, the Chargers are the favorites. The second choice are the Indianapolis Colts. Hook them up with Anthony Richardson. The New York Jets are the third choice. And then the Bengals, who I know for a fact are in love with Brock Bowers, at 10-1. Brent Beard joining us. There's so much stuff to get to here, Brent. I want to ask you, though, as long as we're on the Combine, and we'll get to the SEC Media Day announcement, but it's amazing, isn't it? It was just, feels like it was yesterday, you and I were talking and wondering if Jaden Daniels could take the step from Arizona State to LSU. And here we are right now. He's taken the step so much that he doesn't even have to even do anything at the Combine this weekend,
right,
because he's comfortable with his draft stock.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with the Combine, and what I learned with someone this week that is close to the Combine, and he said the difference in the Combine now compared to years ago is, he said, believe it or not, the metrics, how fast you run, how high you jump, how you run the cones. He said that may be about 20% of it. He said the interview now is probably about 50% of it, and how you actually handle yourself psychologically and emotionally. And he said, I thought this was interesting. He said the medical part of it is a much bigger part of this than people understand. So and I'm curious if you've heard something similar to that. I was fascinated to hear how the Combine has changed over the years. I'm not saying that someone who works out well can't really help themselves, but I was just it was interesting to me, Gabe, how sitting in a room at a table facing GM and scouts and so forth, how much more that's important than maybe what it used to be.
And the players have never had so much power as
Correct.
far as the modern Combine and the modern NFL. Like, it would be unheard of. Like, imagine telling a Bill Parcells or a Bill Walsh, I'm not meeting with you. I'm not even showing up.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, you can, hey, coach, if you like me, sign me. If not, hey, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Because that's the attitude now.
It is,
right?
yeah.
I mean, right? That's the modern attitude right now. I think the Combine is more important now. I'm just talking from a player's perspective for those, for the second rounders, for the third rounders, for the fourth rounders that are trying to improve their stock. But I found it fascinating that there's some coaches that don't go to the Combine anymore even, right? Like Sean McVay doesn't go, Kyle Shanahan doesn't go, Mike McCarthy doesn't go, but Andy Reid's been there every day. And they asked Andy Reid, they said, not every coach is here. You just won the Super Bowl, but you've been here since like day one. Like, you've been soaking it all in.
Yeah.
And he goes, we all look at the same tape. He goes, we all see the same film. He goes, I get to know players by meeting them and getting to know what they're like personally and the type of people that they are. And I just found that fascinating that somehow the best coach in the NFL gets that, but these other guys stay home.
Well, and I'll tell you what that is. I'll tell you what that is, and I've heard this from you also. This is a culture thing. Who fits my culture? And don't think that doesn't mean anything. I want to tell folks they're wrong if they don't think that matters. And as you said, when they meet with these guys, they pick up little nuances and they file those things away with guys that would fit in. But look, I know some of these guys. They think they're above and beyond this, the coaches and the players. Oh no, I think it's important. And look, to me, that's one of the reasons Andy Reid won as many Super Bowls as he has.
Yeah, and if anybody's thinking, no, he wins because Patrick Mahomes. No. He wins. If they don't have Rashee Rice on the team, look at that brilliant draft pick.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Rashee Rice, like last year, they identify, you know what, this guy, as we stated, everyone can catch a football. They identify, will this kid be able to handle the pressure? Because we're probably going to be in a Super Bowl. Is he going to be able to play in big games early? It's funny, Brandon Beane of the Buffalo Bills was talked about the salary cap issues that the Bills have, and I liked his honest response. And he said, I've never been under as much pressure to draft to get players that can play right away.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, and he basically said, he goes, it's going into the consideration. And point blank, Brent, he said, it's going to the consideration. Can they handle the weight of the games that we expect them to play in this year?
Right.
Because we need our rookies to contribute.
Yes. And I can tell you, their attitude makes all the difference in the world. If they're open, if they're compliant, if they're want to learn the system, and they can get along with people, that goes a long, long way. Look, I've had too many scouts and coaches tell me over the years, if we notice a guy is not going to cooperate and he's not going to be a part of the team, and I'm just not being trite about this and saying it because it sounds good. To your point, Gabe, they're giving these guys too much money. They don't want to waste the money. Let's be honest about that.
And time. It's so devastating.
That's
you get
right.
the picks wrong. It
Yeah.
sets you back a couple of years. I
Sure
can't
does.
believe we're out of time already. Brent, where can people find you online and find your podcast as well?
Yeah, absolutely. At Brent Beard, Beaird. I'm on First Coast News. They're college football analysts, ABC and NBC here in Jacksonville. And I do a podcast with Travis Reier called Second Helpings. The SEC is emboldened there. So you can certainly find that too. But Gabe, always great to be with you, my friend. And again, it's going to be an unbelievable offseason, as it already has. Some really, really important decisions going to be made over these next few weeks.
Yeah, both college and professional football. It never sleeps. Can't wait to see how this combine plays out, and then all the trades and everything else in between. And I can't wait for some college football to be played. This is SportsRage. Let's roll.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12 team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Thanks to Brett Beard for kicking to us. We got more football talk coming up in level 3 with Rick Saratella. I've got a lot of football thoughts. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. I've begun to place my the futures and the bets and stuff. One cool thing, and the coolest thing about this right now, it's a unique market that's not for everybody because you've got to wait. You got to wait it out and see where the players are going to end up. But everybody always has an opinion on this stuff. You know, and I tweet something out and I say, oh, this team is going to draft this guy. And, you know, people on Twitter, no, they're not. No, they're not. So, all right, bet it, right? That's the beautiful thing. You can actually bet it. Where do you think Kirk Cousins is going to end up? You could bet it. Where's Russell Wilson going to end up? You could bet it. Who's going to draft J.J. McCarthy? You could bet it. Where's Justin Fields going to end up? You could bet it. And I'm starting to buy in as far as Justin Fields and where he's not going to be this year. Let's bring in Big Card Julio, who's a Bears fan. Julio, what's going on, Julio? And he's in Colorado, so they're both pertinent places as far as the draft is concerned. What's up, Julio? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Gabe and Cam currently enjoying a nice win with the Avalanche and the Maple Leafs. Nice parlay. Great call, Gabe. It seemed like the whole hockey world was on Avalanche Maple Leafs parlay. But I'm currently sweating the under 5.5 in the Kings Canadians game. I've got that parlay with Cam. You may know this woman, Quang Wang. She's in the WTA San Diego. I've got under 9.5 games.
Is that the Chinese gal?
Set. It is the Chinese girl,
yeah. She's done well. She's done well
for me. Chinese girl? It's like
it could be Korean. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Yeah, Jiang Wang. Yeah, it's true. Anyway, I bet her before. Yes, very good bet. I will say that.
Other than that, I'm doing very well. Doing well.
Sorry, that's just yeah. She's Chinese.
Shohei Ohtani. Is he from Japan? The Japanese guy?
Yes,
Japan.
The Japanese guy.
It's like saying no. It's Italian.
You're right.
He's from Italy.
Right. Yes, he's Italian. He's Italian. That's the best. Well, hey, you said it. Like Ohtani. Whenever it says he's going to the Blue Jays, I said no, he's not. He's staying with going to the Dodgers. So you want to make a statement? Bet on it. You're right, Morency. Everybody can have their damn opinions. Just put your money where your mouth is, I guess, is what you say.
So, Julio, where do you think Justin Fields is not going to be back with the Bears? All right, they're going to take Caleb Williams. And the Atlanta Falcons are the front runners, right? But why? Because people think it's logical and or it makes sense, but the NFL is not a logical league. And I was tweeting out this morning about this. They had an opportunity to draft him. He's from Atlanta. They didn't draft him. They've had opportunities to, they haven't, like, Justin Fields is going to make a lot of money too. So I don't think they're, just because the media thinks and people think, oh, it makes sense that he's going to end up in Atlanta. And there are a lot of reports now behind the scenes for people that are paying attention with Atlanta that they're kind of talking. They're not hiding it. Remember Raheem Morris said, well, if we had better quarterback, if this team had better quarterback play this year, I wouldn't be standing here. I wouldn't be the coach of this team. Like, talk about throwing Ritter under the bus. So we know they're getting a quarterback. And the thought process is that they don't want – I know there was a report tonight that the Kirk Cousins is in the mix. I don't buy it. The thing is, they have a bunch of young players on their team. They want to get their own quarterback with the 8th pick in the draft. So I don't think the Falcons are going to get Justin Fields. My take for Justin Fields – is that he ends up with the Raiders, guys. That's my pick. And it's 10-1. 10-1 that he ends up with the Raiders. And I'm buying in that the Pittsburgh Steelers are in play for Justin Fields as well. I think that they would rather get him out into the AFC. I think they would prefer to trade him to an AFC team. So there's odds for this, but as the Bears fan, Julio, where do you think Justin Fields ends up?
Well, yeah, it's definitely not going to be in Chicago. Unfortunately, I don't think it's really all Justin Fields' fault. I remember we were talking on draft night last year. Season win total was 7.5, and Bears finished with 7 wins. So I'm not putting all the blame on Justin Fields. He's not a complete quarterback, but I don't think he's an abject failure. Vegas seems very interesting. If you're the Bears, you just hope there's a bidding war for Justin Fields. You kind of want to hear that Atlanta may not be interested in him. You want to have that bidding war.
There won't be.
I know there won't be. So I
have a higher opinion than Fields than most. I think the Bears' offensive line sucked, and I think he ran for his life on every play. He had these mental breakdowns where he threw a bad ball. Yeah, he throws a couple bad balls, but you also see when he gets in rhythm, he's a great athlete, man. And in the open field, he's unstoppable. Like, people talk about Justin Fields like he's some kind of like a failure. I think I tend to disagree. The Bears have never given him weapons other than Cole Kmet, and he just worked with Moore, and their offensive line has been one of the worst in the league. Why don't you give him a good offensive line and see what he could do? That's my
I don't disagree with that. When I say there's not a bidding war, I'm not saying it to criticize
him. You're right.
Yes. But I'm just being realistic about what the market is. And what it is, Cam, it's not so much him. It's he's been in the league long enough now. You have to pay him. Right. He's going to make money. So if you bring him in, you're making him your quarterback. And is he good enough for that? No. Point blank, no. Like for a lot of teams, it's like, I don't want to pay this guy $50 million a year, right? $45 million a year. So, like, you know what I mean? You don't have to give up that much to get him. The market is like a second-round pick, a fourth-round pick. Like it's a starting point of a second-round pick and an add-on type of deal. There's going to be teams that are interested, but there's not going to be they're not going to get a ton back. Because the other thing is, too, teams know you guys need to take Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
You have to. So you have to trade Justin Fields. So it's not like you can call the bluff. For how long can you call the bluff for? Everybody knows you're taking Caleb Williams. So, so to me, like I said, as far as Justin Fields is concerned, the Raiders are going to do something. I get the feeling the Raiders have something up there. They're going to make a splash, and I'm not sure the draft is good enough for them. Like, I think they go Justin Fields, the Raiders, or they go Kirk Cousins. But the odds right now for Justin Fields is minus 275 Falcons. So this is why the time to bet it is now on all the other teams, because the book is caught up in this Falcon stuff. That he's on the Chicago Bears is plus 250. That's insanity. There's no way in hell he's going to be on the Chicago Bears. Pittsburgh Steelers the Steelers are 4-1, and the Raiders are 10-1. Then you get into the Patriots, too, at 16-1, which isn't crazy either. The Patriots might say, you know what? We can go with Justin Fields and draft a stud with the third pick and then really get better as opposed to just taking Jaden Daniels or Drake May or something like that with the third pick. It's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. And your Seahawks, Cam, I don't think they're going to be in the mix for Justin Fields. No. But I think that Michael Penix, and it's plus 350. Michael Penix, the Washington Husky quarterback, I think potentially could be in play. The only thing is you've got defensive guys running the Seahawks now. Like when Mike McDonald, he's a defensive guy, and I could see him wanting to go defense. But with that being stated, who's the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks now? It's Ryan Grubb.
Right, yeah. I like Grubb.
The offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks is the offensive coordinator from the Washington Huskies. He's never been an offensive coordinator in the NFL before. It's pretty crazy. He was with the Washington Huskies with Michael Penix. He went to Alabama with DeBoer when DeBoer got the job. He was going to be the offensive coordinator at Alabama, but then he left Alabama after 3 days because he got offered to be the offensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. So Michael Penix to Seattle, Geno Smith is a good stopgap for another year. You bring in Michael Penix behind him. But I don't know if they want to take Penix with the 16th pick. They might think it's too high, and Seattle might be thinking, you know what? We don't need to take Michael Penix. We could take Spencer Rattler in the second round or the third round, and he could be better than Penix. So I'm fascinated to see how it plays out, Julio. And last thing about it in your backyard, J.J. McCarthy to the Broncos, I think, is a big possibility as well, Julio. And I know people in Denver are talking about the quarterback situation a lot. And Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy are the two that a lot of people think that Denver are looking at.
Yeah, and Denver 3-1 to draft Bo Nix at the moment, but the better odds are with J.J. McCarthy. Those two names have been thrown around. McCarthy at plus 450, so it seems like those are the key names for Sean Payton and George Payton, the Payton brothers, even though they're not really brothers. But yeah, Denver's in desperate need of a quarterback. The writing's on the wall with Russell Wilson, so it's to see either those two guys or maybe they trade up in the draft if they really like Jaden McDaniels. But it seems like McCarthy or Nix would be the guy.
Man, this is going to be the craziest draft ever. Like, this is actually going to be a draft I wish I was at. And it's going to be cool, too, when J.J. McCarthy, the draft is in Detroit, too, so in Michigan. He's going to be a big-time pick. The crowd's going to be all lit up and stuff. Lion fans, have some pride now suddenly. It's going to be a fun draft week in Detroit in late April. All right, Julio, so what do you got for us? You got any in-game college basketball action going on right now?
I just took Gonzaga. They're up by 1 at the half at San Francisco. Actually parlayed that with the under in the Kings game as well to get a little better price. But I'm already hunting Gabe and Cam as March hits tomorrow. Already March out in the East Coast. Conference tournament futures. I'm looking at South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. The Summit League tournament is in Brookings, South Dakota. Every coach in the Summit League huffs and puffs that this tournament is in Brookings because it gives the advantage to either the Dakota schools. So give me the Jackrabbits at 2-1 to win the Summit League tournament. And I'm trying to catch some fire in New York City at the Big East tournament. I think these teams are going to beat each other up. St. John's, let's have the Red Storm wiggle their way into the Big East title game. St. John's at 25-1. This could set up a nice maybe hedge opportunity. I know hedging's for gardeners, but if we can maybe get St. John's to the semifinals, at least it could create a nice opportunity to make some money in that future.
UConn are minus 140 to win the Big East tournament. Marquette are plus 300. Creighton are plus 450. Seton Hall are 20-1. Nova are 20-1. St. John's are 25-1. Xavier are 45 to 1. I like where you're going with the Summit League. I've had success with this too. South Dakota State they're good in this tournament. We've seen them make March Madness a couple of times before. You talk about the geographical advantage. You got South Dakota State at plus 200. St. Thomas, Minnesota is plus 300. North Dakota State is plus 450. And the Denver Pioneers, the Pies, are plus 800. Yeah. This ain't hockey. They're not going to win.
Hey, but they've been playing well at 8-1. Maybe get them to a semifinal. Again, it's just trying to get maybe these dogs into a semifinal and try to cash out and or get a better price on the.
Hey, here's one. The annual Vermont Catamounts, baby. Vermont to the NCAA tournament. Vermont to win the American East tournament. Plus 100, baby. Go Cats.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
SportsRage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. We're going to get into the Combine talk with Rick Saratella guys later, but I don't know if you guys saw this, Cam and Julio. There's the safety out of Texas Tech. This kid's fast, all right? Like, he might set the record for, like, the fastest time ever, which is rare for a safety as well. Normally it's a wide receiver. So he's like 4.2 speed, but I don't know if you guys saw, he also... You know how, like, Kyrie's a flat earther and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. This guy's taking it to a new level. He doesn't believe that space exists. And he doesn't believe that other planets exist.
That's amazing. Well, you get a telescope, or like, hey, it's already been proven. It's factual. Like, you can't debate that there's not other planets. It's been
no. He's like he doesn't think. He thinks like he's like, well, it's God's creation and there are no other planets and no, space doesn't exist. They're like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I'm open to everything. And he basically, he was like, he wasn't being a jerk about it.
Yeah.
But I just really laughed about it because people don't realize this. Texas Tech is like one of the biggest space and aero schools in America.
He cares about football.
I didn't even know this. I was watching a bowl game or something. One of those. There was like a 5-minute feature on Texas Tech. I just sort of, not to be an insult, but I just thought they were a bunch of dumbasses, right, at Texas Tech. Right? And they're actually, Texas Tech is one of the leading industries in fossil fuel and blah, blah, space energy. And I was like, holy crap, you guys are actually a lot smarter than I realized at Texas Tech. But your football players don't believe that planets exist. I like this.
But amazing.
Yeah, listen, if you run 4.2 speed, you can believe whatever the hell you want, kid. I don't care, right? Just show up on time.
Yep.
Show up and tackle, and you'll be
show up on time. All right, so the third period's begun here, Cam. Hopefully, and hang on, Julio, we'll get your soccer bets, your early hauling play, because I know you're going to have them.
Of course.
You're gonna have some...
Guy scored 5 goals in the last game.
He scored the first and the last goal, I think, so he made your money.
Wow.